Hello, everyone. This is Ed Breniger, and welcome to the Eddie Network podcast. And my guest today is Kristin Johnson, who's been a guest before, and she has gone off in a new direction. And I'm excited to hear about this. I'm not surprised. I mean, I know a little bit about it because it was happening when we first met, but now it's a bigger deal, and I'm happy for you. And so, tell us a little bit about what you're up to and who you are and whatever you want to tell us.
Well, I mean, first of all, let's just say that it's nice to be back second time. So this is great. Thank you for having me. I don't even remember how many years ago our first time together was. 2 years ago, maybe?
It was 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. So it's nice to be back. The description you just gave that, I've made some changes is very cryptic. So let's go ahead and bring some of that down. But the last time I was on the show 2 years ago, I was representing the historic Broy Hill, and I have been the director there for 16 years. And it was such a wild ride of it was almost an entrepreneurial experience with a safety net underneath because I didn't own the business. For anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's a 1925 built structure that was originally a school, and it ran as a school from the 20s all the way through 1980 something, 82 I think, and it was slated for demolition as the county was building a new school. And Mr. Ed Broyhill, who is from the Broyhill Furniture family, a line of entrepreneurs starting in Lenoir, North Carolina, he had this rich affinity for history, and he decided that he did not want that 1925 building to be torn down. And so at the hearing for the demolition approval or denial, he got onto the front steps and said, "Please don't tear this down. I want to buy this building." And so he did. And the rest is history from the early 80s to today's time. It has run as a couple different operations, but for a good 20 years, it has been the historic Broyhill, and 16 of those years have been under my direction. In just it's an office complex that welcomes 50 plus businesses that have their home headquarters there, and in the center is an event center. And over the years of my tenure, we acquired two other buildings, so now it's a 5 acre campus, three buildings, and it's a thriving place. And it was just an awesome ride. And before you ask a question, I'll just go ahead and do the spoiler. I stepped down as director 18 days ago. So here we are.
Well, historic Broyhill was kind of what I would call a co-working space of sorts
Of
before it was
sorts.
cool to have co-working spaces.
hmm
Because
I always described it as if you have any college experience, especially in the dormitories,
yeah,
I always described it as that kind of feeling. Now, of course, it was a lot nicer of a facility than a dorm room, but it was that same common area feel to where you had your own individual room, but if you wanted to, you could come into the center and have camaraderie, ask questions, talk to people, have a community, but then you had your own separate space. So it's really nice for people who are entrepreneurs who have smaller businesses, but also there's some large businesses in there. There's some very notable community names that are tenants in there too that have big presence. So yeah, it's a really interesting subset of people, and it was an honor to be part of it for such a long time.
well, that's great. That's great. And so now you put that chapter of your life, you've closed that
Yes.
chapter and you've opened up another chapter. And so what are you doing?
So I opened up a company called Kristin Johnson Speaks. And what that is it's a company to where I'm able to go out into the community and do some MC work, keynotes, workshops, things like that. And then the thing that I'm most excited about is that I get to go out and help people learn how to present, meaning I can teach public speaking skills to people. I taught a class of 20 teenagers last night. Actually, in Yadkinville, I went to a group called the Shore Scholars, and there are 20 of these kids that qualified to be part of this program. and they all are assigned groups. And in these groups, they have to give presentations. And as a high schooler, rising college aged person, that's something that they dread. I think a lot of us dread it. In fact, yesterday in part of my presentation, I gave a statistic, and it was this chart of things that people are afraid of, and public speaking was at the top of the list over things like drowning, snakes, spiders, clowns was on there.
Why do
But
you think
people,
it's that way? Why do you think
I,
it?
it's confidence. It's confidence. And so, thinking about leadership, we're lacking in leadership right now. And so part of this mission through Kristin Johnson Speaks is to help build confidence, which ultimately will facilitate people being ready and willing to step up as leaders. And that's going to make our community better. It's going to make our families better, and it's going to make the world better. So Kristin Johnson Speaks has a big mission in mind for sure.
So when you do your standard keynote, what are you telling us? What's your message? I know it's about building confidence, but that's a lot of people say that. So what's your little twist on that grabs your audience and says, "Oh, this is really important for me."
My unique flavor.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you two words because we did talk about leadership, we talked about confidence, but really it's purpose and it's
Hmm.
availability. And
Hmm.
so my main message is being available for your unique purpose that you were created for. It is undeniable to me that we were all created purposefully and uniquely. And I know that it's easy to get lost in the rat race of our lives. It's easy to get lost in the daily grind of our lives and our responsibilities and our missions and all the things that we're just really trying to do. But before we had the great missions, before we had the great project that we're working on, we were created as individuals. Very, very unique individuals. No two people have the same fingerprint. And that's amazing. We were created as these pieces of art with purpose. And my message is about being available to receive and live your unique purpose.
So you really can't figure out who you are or what your purpose is unless you're available to discover that.
Absolutely. And so it turns into, I'll give you a little spoiler on something that I'm working on, but I have written a book, it's ironic. Anybody that would hear me say these words, I hope my mom will listen to this podcast at some point so she can have
We'll
a good
send it
old
to her.
laugh
We'll send it to her.
that I've written a book because it's just one of those things that so a couple of different things in my life, many different things in my life that I've gotten into have been laughable. I was once an event planner, and those of you who know me know that I can plan and I can be meticulous, but that's not really how I live my life. I'm a lot better just kind of rolling with some of the things. So to steward a planning business was laughable, but I was really good at it. And I think because I can come in and say, I understand that you might not be a planner. I'm not naturally either. Let's do this together. And then you do it in these increments that are doable, that are attainable. So back to this book, my kids they're getting a little bit older. They're not old. One's 9 and one's 10, so they're still little. But we're out of that zone where they weren't sleeping through the night anymore. We've been out of there for a while, and I love my sleep. I just do. I've always needed a good solid night of sleep. I'm just not one of those people that can pull all-nighters at all. And so, getting out of that baby zone and into the time where I'm sleeping through the night for several years has been magical. And so I would go to bed. This was maybe a year and a half ago. I was going to bed standard time, 10 o'clock or so. And I would be asleep until midnight almost every single night. It was two times. It was midnight or it was 3 a.m. And I would be woken up, and it was almost like the tap on the shoulder.
Hmm.
Get up and write. Get up and write. Get up and write. And I'm like, I got nothing to write down. No. So I would go back to bed. And then it kept happening and happening and happening. And finally, out of probably exhaustion, desperation, and we're going to call it obedience, I got up and I started writing. And I don't even know the last time I read a book, honestly, let alone wrote one. And these words just poured out of me, and this message just poured out of me. And I felt quite used after it was done. I was just like, I can't believe that that was in here. I had to get it out somehow. And so the spoiler is the beginning, I'll tell you. And it goes a little something like this, but every morning for years and years, and this is a true story about me, I would, before my feet would hit the ground, when I woke up, I would open my eyes and I would say this little prayer, and it would say something like, "Good morning, God. Thanks for the opportunity you're going to give me today. Good morning, God. Thanks for the opportunity. Good morning, God. Thanks. Good morning, God." And after years, Ed, I'm talking years, 5+ years, I almost felt like I was like, "Good morning. Thanks for what you got for me, big guy," just so entitled. And I started challenging myself
Hmm.
on this. And I'm like, what am I thanking God for? It's like this opportunity. He's going to be like, "Hey, she said thanks. I'm going to give her something now. I mean, give me a break." And so I started really thinking about my posture in life. And I'm like, what if I look at this more of a friendship? And I have a friend who is expecting me to be able to trust them and trust them with something, but they're not ready to receive it, whether it's a task or a piece of information or a collaboration. If they're not ready, I'm not going to give that to them. So why is God going to give me something that I'm not ready for? Maybe I'm not ready. And so with that thought and challenging my own dialogue, I changed my morning greeting to God. And instead of saying, "Good morning, thanks," I now, since then, open my eyes, and before my feet hit the ground, I say, "Good morning, God. I'm available."
Hmm.
Now, what does that mean? This is where the real work actually starts. What am I available for? And so I don't know, because he hasn't revealed all of this to me. But what I do know is that I need to start getting myself ready in body, in mind, in spirit, in alignment.
And what I hear you saying, God, that's such a thing. What I hear you saying is,
We're in a session.
yeah, what I hear you saying is that you have changed your orientation from being your life is about you to your life is about giving to someone else or to some place or it's about giving something rather than receiving something. And I think that's,
In a way.
well, you're getting something from this.
But what's so interesting is you have to posture yourself
Yes,
to receive your your direction,
but you're
and then you
receiving
go give it.
you're receiving the opportunity to give yourself to something else. And I guess what I'm
Exactly.
saying, this is not now primarily about you. It's about what you're
Not at
giving.
all.
And
Yes.
I think that's a significant shift for a lot of people, particularly here in the US, where, we're overwhelmed by um, kind of consumer marketing, which says that you deserve every blessing, every good thing. And if you're not getting
Yep.
it, you're wrong. Something's wrong with you, and you need to. I'm not going to go through all that, but you understand what I'm talking about. And what I find is that those people are not happy people, even though they feel entitled. And that sense of entitlement is really uh, sort of an expression of I want to feel entitled. And so I'm going to do kind of mind over matter and talk myself into being it when really what where genuine happiness comes from is really identifying with other people and their needs and and the opportunity to serve them and to help them and then when you see that change happen, then all of a sudden your life is flourishing because oh, my life has more meaning and more impact than just simply me showing up.
Yes. Yes. And so there's this accountability piece that I think because of how our society is, you go, you can do it, you deserve this, you deserve greatness. But it's like all that messaging is lost when it's like you deserve instead of like you go. Like when you say, it's just funny, the saying that a lot of women are familiar with, and, it's just been around for decades and decades, but it's you go, girl, right? And a lot of that is just like you say it in jest now because it's not, popular anymore. But when you say it, it's just like, yeah, great job. But I think when we get really literal about that phrase, the word go is lost. We are so worried about what's next and what we deserve and how we're presenting that we're forgetting to take a look inward to say, okay, hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna go, but am I ready for that? Where am I going and am I ready for that? And so it's this introspection that you just have to really, it's hard once you wake up and say, "Good morning, God, I'm available," because then it's like, are you? Are you really? And one of the examples, Ed, that I use is a woman that works for, just picking somebody out, but a food pantry. And her mission, her vision, her value is feeding community. She wants to make sure that every man, woman, and child is fed in her community. And that's what drives her to
Yeah.
get up and do things in the morning. And so, she'll make calls, she'll coordinate volunteers, she'll coordinate donations, she'll put her life into this. But then there's this piece where the food truck arrives or the delivery truck arrives and she's got to pick up boxes and she's got to pack food in and she's got to go distribute it out there to the volunteers or to the community or whatever, but she's not physically capable. So 75% of her mission's being filled, but 25 because she's not seeing the value in taking care of her temple. She can't fulfill her full mission. Now, I don't want to get hung up on physicality because some people can't, but it's that. It's just like, yeah, you have these really important things that you want to contribute. Have you paused to examine how available you are in many areas of your life? It's a challenge.
One of the words that I hear tossed around in this kind of world of motivation, if that's the right word, is is the idea that we are enough. We're enough for whatever situation we come to. Now, I believe that's true, but
Ish.
I I know that I'm just thinking about the people who will be in audiences listening to you. And I know that there's some who are primed to take that first step and all of a sudden they've taken off and they're going to the moon. But then there are other people who have been beaten down by life and they cannot see the idea of being available as a solution for their situation. So they have to overcome some sense of um, of inadequacy or maybe even worse trauma for them to see that a way out of that kind of darkness is to become a servant or to become a giver, in that sense, which is I think part of what you're talking about. So how do you talk with those kinds of people who clearly, I mean, they're at the event to hear you speak, so they want something from you, but they're also maybe very skeptical that you can even make a difference in their life.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about stepping into a calling, stepping into a purpose, stepping out of a 16-year comfortable, well-paying position to go be a servant leader. I mean, you're not going to make everybody happy. That's the thing. You can't. But I will tell you that this message is crafted. So my book is in the hands of a publisher right now.
Good.
And one of the very first things, which is just amazing that they're going to ask this question, is who's your audience? I mean, remember, let's start at the very beginning, a
Mm-hmm.
very good place to start. Well, who's your audience? And I didn't want to sound ridiculous when I said it, but my answer was human beings, because that's the truth. And when we say human beings, there are going to be the people that, yes, they need the spark and they're taking off. Their life is changing by the word. They're going to be the skeptics. They're going to be the people that hate what I'm saying. And that's okay, because that means they're not ready for it. This message is available if you are to you. Here's the thing. There are going to be people that need to be available in body and mind and spirit, right? These are things that are kind of lower hanging fruit to just think about. For the people that have been hurt, for the people that have been wounded, for the people that have been taken advantage of, for the people that need something else, there are ways of availability that aren't just about you. It's about your alignment.
Mm-hmm.
It's about your involvement. It's about your environment. And so when you start thinking about these things, well, then the woman who's in a bad relationship can maybe see a little bit differently that she won't break these patterns if she doesn't change her environment. Now, how do you do that? Through collaboration, through alignment, through getting help. This isn't just about you. This is about how you're aligning yourself with your unique purpose, with somebody else's unique purpose, and you create synergy that propels you forward.
Totally agree. And I think it's a challenge if you hear rumbling, my audience, if you hear rumbling, I have plumbers in the house today. Um, I think this is a challenge we all face. I think, um, but the challenge is met by building relationships where we can support one another and we can find a way to be a few people that we can be transparent with and say, hey, this is a problem. This is how do I overcome this? And being able to find those kinds of people, I guess what I'm saying is this isn't something that we do by ourselves. We,
It's not. It's not. And the beautiful, challenging part about it is that you have to start with yourself to be able to create these relationships with others. Because if you're closed off, if you're not prepared, if you're angry, if you're negative, if you're these things that, if your qualities or characteristics or traits that don't attract others, you won't attract others. And if you can't attract others, then others aren't going to help you. So you've got to start with your availability in looking at yourself. And then once you're able to do that, go back to that example that I said about, treating God as a friend of sorts. So where if I'm going to hand my friend something, they better be ready for it. But it's up to me to know if they're ready for it. You have to start thinking about yourself as that friend. Am I ready to receive friends? Am I ready to receive assistance? Am I ready to go into this group of people and contribute by being authentic with them?
mm-hmm.
You have to start with yourself. And I think that's what a lot of our society is lacking right now, is the ability to be self-reflective and be a little bit critical about how we're presenting out there. There's so much supportive culture out there that's like, yes, you're enough. Yes, you are perfect. Yes, just how you are. Yeah, well, we were created by God, who doesn't make mistakes. So we are enough. but are we acting enough? Are we being enough? Are we stepping up enough? That's where the rubber hits the
And
road.
that's where the purpose comes through.
Absolutely.
So, so as you are moving into this season of being a public speaker and a trainer, not so much, I guess a trainer is another word for it too. What is that? And I'm going to ask you a circle of impact question. What is the impact you want to see from this? What is it that you'd like to see changed by you standing up in front of an audience or working with a group of people in a conference room or having a Zoom call with, with 20 people from around the world? What is it that you would like to see as the outcome of that in terms of the changes that come from that?
I mean, you want the high level answer because I want to see a better world. That's what I want to see.
And what does that look like?
It looks like better people. It looks like better leaders. It looks like people that believe that their positive impact makes a difference. It's a world that people can wake up and feel that they are adding value by being positive, and that continues. It's being a conduit of positivity and good. And every day when my kids leave for school, every single day when they're walking out the door, I say the same thing to them. And it is my hope as a mother that they will continue this. And it is my hope that as anybody that hears this podcast and anybody that sits in one of the rooms where I'm talking, or anybody that is with me in this life, I say this to them: be the good. That's it. It's so easy, Ed. That's what I want. I want people to go out and be the good. Because if they're the good, somebody's going to see them being the good and get inspired to be the good. And my vision is to be the good and be the good and be the good. And then all of a sudden you pick your head up and the world's a little bit better. That's what I want. Pretty simple.
So as you put this is a new business for you, correct? How,
Yeah, brand new.
how do you how do you see this business developing in terms of so have you kind of drawn a circle around the geography of an area that you want to serve in particular, or are you open to all, going a wide variety of places? I mean, you've said something about humanity or human beings being your focus. Within that are there particular groups of people you really feel um, particularly gifted to serve? Because there's your own life experience matches their life experience, and you have something to offer them, which it has some kind of high octane power to it. I mean, let's hear a little bit more about what your real plan is for this new venture that you're doing.
Well, so I'm starting close to home because that's where I am. And for those who have been around me, I've been in leadership positions for many, many years locally. And so through that visibility and just communicating to people that I have made this switch, or that this is my mission, or this is what I'm going to do, I've already started to bring in people that are interested in hearing what I have to say. Because I think a lot of people feel that this is very timely, as far as not just me doing this, but just in our world. We need some good. We really do. And so I think that people that know me and know at the core who I am are willing to extend, in the newness of all this, opportunities to say, hey, you would be really great for this group. So that's already starting locally. I have traveled already to Texas to teach a leadership class on this, which is really great. And so I've kind of started to go out a little bit more into the world, if you will. But wherever I'm called, I will go. And to answer just a really grounded business question, I have started marketing very heavily in the Winston-Salem Piedmont Triad area at large, and then the Charlotte Lake Norman area as well.
I have some thoughts about that, but I'll share with
Great.
you when after we finish.
Okay.
Um, I think I'm excited for you.
Thank
And
you.
do you have any sense of trepidation about starting a business in the world that is as it exists today?
Uh, so much. So much. Because when I think about this, I know that, well, one, leadership is at an all-time low. People don't
Hmm.
want to stand up to be leaders. Why? Because we have this great visibility and great responsibility, and the world is tricky right now. It's a dangerous place. So, with everything that's going on, especially in our country, to be thinking about being visible and stepping up on a platform and saying things that just encourage good and encourage God, it feels very, very scary. But I know that this is my purpose. So I
But
cannot be afraid of it.
but that's where you found yourself being when you wake up every morning, is at that scary spot where you say, I'm available.
Yeah,
I,
I
I,
know.
I love that. I love that idea. I love the idea I'm available because it it doesn't say that you figured it all out.
No.
It does say that you're going to listen, you're going to observe what's going on, you're going to find a place to fit in the situations that you find yourself being invited into. I mean, I think it's a really a great concept, and a great way to approach, um, a kind of business where you're seeking to have impact and influence in the world through speaking and training and talking and encouraging people in their life. And
Thank
I think it's fantastic, and you're going to be great at it. And there's no question in my mind.
thank you. Just with a really quick closing story, I'll tell you, I really feel that when you're stepping into your purpose, things just start to go for you. I really do believe that. It's not such a slog. It's a little bit easier. It doesn't mean it's any less scary,
Right.
but it's not something where you're that salmon swimming upstream. You're actually, you're able to pick your head up and see these moments of ease or beauty or, whatever, however you want to think of these times where it's like, yes, I feel that this is the direction I should be going. So when this book poured out of me and I just had these ideas and I put them out and then I put them together and then I mean there's so much humbling that has happened in the most beautiful ways. But if you're familiar with John Gordon, he's the author of The Energy Bus, Power of Positive Leadership, Power of Positive Teams. I'm publishing my book through the Gordon Group, and
Oh,
he's
good.
personally helping me in talking about ideas. And I mean, just the fact that there's this guy that's out there who is willing to invest in people for the greater good, and I'm one of them. It's just like, how did that happen? Well, so I was going through a series of edits on the book, not with John Gordon specifically, but with one of the people on his team. And I had this quote and it was a lyric from Hillsong United, the song Oceans. And if you're into any sort of Christian music, people know who Hillsong United is and they're familiar with the song Oceans. It's beautiful and it's raw and it's about stepping into the unknown, essentially, and having trust in it. And so my coach was doing exactly what she was supposed to do. And she was like, hey, using song lyrics or any lyrics is very tricky when you're talking about a manuscript. Unless you get permission, you can't do that. And I was like, okay, well, what do you suggest? And she kind of laughed and she was like, well, I think we should take it out, or you can call them and get permission. And I'm like, okay. Don't you know? I started going up the chain of asking permission. And I got their managers on the phone. They're in Australia,
Hmm.
and I have a license to use their lyrics.
Very
And
good.
it's just stuff like that where it's like, these things that seem like No, that's not going to happen. That's not possible. That's unusual. It's happening. And it's that alignment that's giving me more and more zest and fervor for what I'm doing. And yeah, my hope is that it changes lives, starting with one.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we'll put whatever you want to put in the show notes as a way to find you, and maybe if
Thank
you
you.
have some video that you've done, and and um, so we'll just put create ways for people to find you and connect with you so that they can invite you to come speak or do some training or whatever that is that they see in you that they want you to bring to their group.
Thank
And
you, and
and
I appreciate it.
yeah. So thanks for being here, Kristen, and thank you all for watching. And we'll see you next time here on the Eddie Network podcast. Bye bye.